Lately, a lot of internet and entertainment humor seems to be underscoring the absurd. Whether it's Druski parodying the ridiculousness of The Bachelor and label execs like Diddy, or Charli XCX's mockumentary highlighting the goofy facade of pop stardom and the Monopoly Man-esque corporate machines behind it, or Rachel Sennott revealing the broke and messy human people behind the flawless influencers that we see online, the young masses enjoy pulling back the curtain on quote-unquote reality to see the absurd in all its glory. We want to see how exactly the reality sausage is cooked and poke fun at the self-important chefs cooking it. Unless, of course, they are in on the joke. But how much of our laughter is an escape, a coping mechanism, a complacent distraction? And framing the sinister as silly, do we take its power away or reinforce its power by increasing its entertainment value? And what happens when parody goes full circle and becomes reality? Will we laugh at the absurdity of these unreasonable people and systems all the way until they eat us alive? Today, we're talking about the rise in parody and media about our absurd reality to see what it has to say about our relationship to our own identity, the broader culture, and politics. I suggest that this signifies a sort of uncanny valley in psychological liminal space that we are all occupying, holding both warnings and invitations. Per usual, I'm wet, dry, and fucking confused about the topic, so let's get into it. What's up, bitches? I'm Fiji, like the island, like the water. I have been super obsessed with the Uncanny Valley and liminal spaces lately, hence this episode, and I work in social media and marketing. For my loyal listeners, I know that I promised you guys the hypersexuality episode would be out next. However, I am still working on it. I kind of realized that it was not going to be done in time for February, and then I had this other concept, this episode, like in my head, and kind of knocked this out in a weekend. So here we are. That's also why there are no polls for this episode. If you guys are new and you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to follow me at So Wet So Dry, the O's are zeros on TikTok and Instagram to participate in polls, listener stories, submit potential episode topics, all of that stuff. And also I did start a Substack. I've been posting kind of frequently on there too. There will be a companion article to this piece that's like a little bit more cleaned up. I'm really fucking with Substack lately. All right, so first I want us to talk a little bit about the absolute absurdity of American reality and extreme reality as entertainment. It's easy to get lost in something when you're just like in it all the time. But if we take a step back and look at America from the outside, it truly is and has always been fucking insane. We are a culture that has created this narrative of the melting pot and the land of opportunity, where anyone can make it and you can start from nothing and become something. But that was simply never true for most people. America has always been a complete facade held up by like very thin straws. And we've talked about this in other episodes, right? I mean, like the land was literally stolen and then we somehow twisted it to be a place where we discovered freedom. The founding fathers literally wrote the Declaration of Independence calling this the land of the free when they themselves had slaves and completely wiped out massive populations of indigenous people. So it is actually batshit insane how hypocritical it is, but nevertheless, the masses have bought into this facade for centuries. And it makes sense because the narrative was very carefully prescribed for us, right? Back in the 1700s, information took a long time to travel via letters and the written word. So when information was written or a speech or performance was given, it was held up on this sort of pedestal. Everything back then was simply harder, so it was assumed that if someone had taken the time to deliver information, then it must be true. And of course, there's a reason that word of mouth and gossip were seen as low culture bullshit, because it was something that women, enslaved African peoples, and indigenous people did. Anyone who wasn't a wealthy white man was often prevented from receiving a Western education, so they would not be capable of reading and writing. In that way, information was very intentionally gatekept by design. And if these marginalized people did learn to read and write, it was not printed because it threatened institutions of wealthy white male power. However, since then, advances in technology like the printing press, film, television, the internet, social media, and smartphones have allowed the historical record and cultural discourse to become democratized. Sort of. As much as these mediums have progressed to remove accessibility restrictions, the narratives are still very much prescribed, manufactured, controlled, censored, and silenced. From editors to producers to investors to algorithms, wealthy white men have only found more creative ways to gatekeep information and serve a reality that lines their pockets. In the early 2000s, reality TV emerged as a new medium to challenge the culture and reinforce it. So shows like The Real World and Jersey Shore presented an extreme version of reality by plucking young people from low culture obscurity and putting them into a heavily manipulated and over-medicated environment, where they essentially acted like clowns for our entertainment. Ronnie and Sammy's fights were real.
I want nothing to do with you.
They were familiar in the sense of the toxic relationship couples we know or have been in, but the stakes were heightened, as well as the substances. On The Simple Life, party girl Nepo babies Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton played caricatures of themselves. Paris Hilton literally invented a persona and an entire new voice.
I love your jacket. The sparkles are amazing.
I think the most important thing is they need access to therapy, counseling, mentorship, and other community-based programs.
To give the people what they wanted, a dumb, rich blonde. Family reality shows like John and Kate Plus 8 served us the shocking but real lives of a family of sextuplets. And Jerry Springer brought us the violent drama of everyday people from middle America to fight with an audience. America's Next Top Model, as we learned from the recent documentary, was born from good intentions, and some of them were realized. Tyra had been through hell as one of the first Black models amongst a sea of white women in an industry of European beauty standards. She created the show to challenge the industry, empower women, be the big sister that she needed, and show the world that models weren't vapid. And she half did that, with Miss J. Alexander and Jay Manuel often carrying the show and being the true industry disruptors. But the show also exploited the fuck out of a lot of women and the two J's when the network decided they no longer fit the bill. One of the things people really latched onto in the preview was when Tyra said,
But you guys were demanding it, and so we kept pushing more
Why are we filming this?
and more
So fucked up.
and more.
"But who exactly wanted this?" the comments asked. We did though, didn't we? There's a reason the views and ratings were so high on those shows. And there's a reason America's Next Top Model was a core preteen memory of mine, complete with backyard photo shoots, a fear of drinking too much and cheating, and of course, a hyper awareness of my diet, weight, and stomach fat. There's also a reason we're now in this weird meta era where the Paris Hilton documentary exists, the Jerry Springer documentary exists, the Biggest Loser documentary, or Tyra's, where everyone involved finally comes forward and exposes the quote-unquote truth behind the now infamous shows. I can claim I don't need Tyra to come forward and tell me what really happened all I want, but I'm still going to watch the documentary because it was a huge part of my childhood, right? And it may be corny, but it helped shape my worldview. And I, like many, may actually need Tyra, Miss J, Jay, Nigel, the models to come forward and contextualize the show in 2026 so I can grapple with it as an adult, like a sort of therapy session. After all, hindsight is 2020, and that would never fly in this era. Or would it? Because the thing about this whole reality entertainment game is that it will never run out of content. The Kardashians turned their reality show into a billion spin-offs and businesses. The Reckoning documentaries are an entire new genre. Fights on Bad Girls Club and The Housewives will become memes. The cast of Selling Sunset and Love Island will go on various podcasts to spill the tea. Shows like Love is Blind will get canceled for the same manipulative producer practices of pushing alcohol as its predecessors, but it still is a top Netflix show. Nick and Vanessa Lachey are still cringy. The show's premise is still insane. But why was I crying when Vic read Christine that love letter? I am rooting for them so hard, guys, the way that I want to see a white woman and Black man couple succeed with some sort of selfish desperation is ridiculous. But these shows work because they are just unattainable enough to be shocking and entertaining, yet relatable enough for us to identify with the characters. And somewhere along the line, what the Monopoly Man initially funded as a form of entertainment to reinforce stereotypes and traditional American lifestyles by typecasting people and humiliating them until they became clowns, began to crack into something that actually challenged the culture to progress. Extreme reality entertainment redefined the way we approach our everyday reality. Once the internet, social media, and smartphones were in the palm of the everyday person's hand, absolutely anyone could post what they were seeing, thinking, feeling, creating, etc. in a stream of consciousness style. The audience was no longer passive consumers of American culture and entertainment, but active participants. Reality stars were still stereotypes and typecasted, but they developed online fandoms who rooted for them and held producers accountable for their missteps. This empowered reality stars themselves to come forward with their truth and build brands outside of the reality franchise, like Gabby Windey. And this kind of blew up the Monopoly man's grip on American minds because unique and marginalized perspectives couldn't be completely silenced anymore. But capitalism is a tricky thing, and it will always find a new way to exploit for profit. So even in an era of authenticity and tearing down the facade to serve realness, we're still getting just enough smoke and mirrors to still turn somebody a profit. Which is how we end up in the truly uncanny valley of Druski's YouTube shows, Coulda Been Records and Coulda Been Love.
I'm standing on Beiber. I'm standing on Beiber. I'm standing on Beiber. I'm standing on Beiber.
Druski is one of the most well-known comedians of our generation.
I do this shit in my fucking butter, son.
Coulda Been Records parodies the music industry and historically shady labels like Cash Money Records, Death Row, and Bad Boy. The audition process somewhat parodies shows like American Idol.
You're the one I be seeing in my dreams. You want to hear the chorus?
No, I couldn't hear anymore.
Okay.
Then you gotta hit that bit.
Let's get him the fuck out of here.
The Voice, America's Got Talent, and even America's Next Top Model that would publicly humiliate everyday, not quite talented people who shot their shot at the American dream.
It was bad enough when you started, then your husband kicked in, and then Otto and his sister. I think every note was out of tune, to be honest with you.
Let's get him the fuck out of here. That's bullshit. Oh, let's get him out of here. Get him out of here. Send next. You guys know why you're getting out of here. Too buff. Get him out of here. It's too much for my security. You got too much shit in your pocket. I don't trust it. Get him out of here.
This is tradition. Anything goes when you in the audition.
Druski's persona on the show is based on label executives like Diddy, Suge Knight, and Birdman.
Stop playing with my fucking name. Stop playing with my name.
Let's
I ain't
go
gonna
right
say
on
it
in.
no more. When my name come up, respect it.
Let's go.
Stop playing with my fucking name. Stop playing with my name. I ain't gonna say it no more. Y'all finished or y'all done? I ain't got no more talking. Let's rock.
Who were, of course, exploitative and predatory street CEOs that capitalized on artists' lack of financial literacy.
Sign on the dotted line. 1% is yours, 99 is mine.
As a Diddy-ified version of himself as the record label owner of Coulda Been, Druski plays a hyper-masculine egomaniac with homoerotic undertones.
You top or bottom? Oh.
That feels absolutely absurd. Even the name Coulda Been speaks to the fact that these artists will be washed up with failing careers. Druski barks demands of loyalty between inappropriate sexual remarks and gulps from his red solo cup while he has the contestants compete in various humiliation ritual challenges and performances. It's hilarious, except for when it's not, but more on that in a minute. Coulda Been Love parodies reality dating shows where the contestants compete for one man's love.
It could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been LOV. It could have been love.
In the show, Druski's love is the prize, like Flavor Flav on Flavor of Love or any given Bachelor season. Caleb Presley plays the host, mirroring Jesse Palmer of the Bachelor franchise. There's so many similarities to the absurdity of The Bachelor, like the guy talk conversations, the trauma dumping, the here for the right reasons, clout chasing, the challenges, the confessionals, jealousy between contestants, the rose eliminations, etc. Druski's fondness for studs is hilarious and honestly great representation for pushing the boundaries of traditional heterosexual masculinity.
Little stud love right there.
However, I couldn't help but feel like the show is getting dark. In the last episode of Coulda Been during the Brooklyn auditions, Druski is clearly drunk and resorts to lowball comments that weren't even funny.
You a toddler? You ain't got no brains yet?
I'm talking about mans like this, bro.
Yeah, my bad.
Insulting the Black Panthers.
This is the Black Panthers.
It's an honor that you would compare us to the Black Panthers. This is Black Wall Street. We're walking in light of the Panthers.
Whatever the Black Panther movement y'all pushing in 2000, the big 25 is crazy. What the f y'all dressed as, man? Y'all look like fucking sleuths, man. Get the f out of here, bro. What y'all doing, man?
Pretty much only sexualizing every woman that auditioned.
What that is?
I want to reach the stars. I want to be a star. I am a star. I'm here to show you that.
What language you said you speak?
I'm fluent in Spanish.
Coochie?
Coochie? No, I'm a star! Please, I'm a star!
And almost getting into a literal fight with an old guy.
Over 50, give him the f out of here.
Yo, why y'all gotta grab me up like that,
Shut up, Unc. Get the f out of here.
Comedian ass.
I ain't no comedy either, bro. I'm a street.
So am I.
Suck my d.
You suck Mars. I live in this hood. Bro, I don't even do nothing, bro, because he's validated me. He told me to suck his. And I appreciate you apologize, and I
you know how I can tell you been to jail? Your ass ain't got no fucking shoelaces in.
You gonna do that to me?
Fuck, my bad.
Listen, let me explain something to you.
Put him back in, man.
The reason why.
You free, Unc. You free. Hey, man, hey, I'm not your enemy. You know what I'm saying? I brought you back for a reason. I ain't into that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Just finish the bar.
See,
that's what I'm saying.
Nah,
you
got
lying.
me fucking.
Cause you fucking lying, bro.
I ain't gotta lie.
You fucking lying.
I ain't gotta fucking lie.
You fucking lying, bro.
I ain't gotta fucking lie. No, because you kept interrupting me, man.
It's not because I'm interrupting you, bro. It's
yes,
because
it is. I didn't ask to be here. The white supremacy kept my people stagnated for years.
Niggas always blaming a white man, bro. What'd you do to go to jail? What was your charge in prison?
After I watched the episode with my boyfriend, we both kind of just sat there feeling off and a little sad, because the thing is that the contestants obviously have to know what they are signing up for, especially since there has already been a prior season out, but still too many of them seem naive. Similar to America's Next Top Model, it's almost like they went into it just excited to see Druski be filmed and get their opportunity in the spotlight, but left humiliated in a way that wasn't fun anymore because they weren't quite in on the joke. They were the joke.
You are something special. That's why I'm always faithful. Yeah, I can hit them notes. I ain't gonna count my tone is all the way up there from down there. Like, you feel me? I'm all over the place with it.
What was your last drill?
Nah, I ain't.
So Trap, when was your last?
It was a while. I've been good. I've been good for a little minute. I don't got to do that no more.
So no more of the trapping.
Yeah, I'm good.
They ain't been a whole year yet.
Yeah, but I changed my life though.
Yo, you changed your life.
Yeah, I changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for Coulda Been. Like, you feel me? To show them what we gonna be.
Weight and height.
About 5'9", 260.
5'9", 260.
Probably smaller than that. I lost a lot of weight.
We're gonna have to tweak that.
I lost a lot of weight in the past couple months.
Yeah, we just gonna have to tweak it.
Now.
We're gonna tweak it.
I lost mad weight, bro. What you mean? I used to be bigger than this. But like you know what I mean? I wear size 36 pants. He don't believe me. Now I'm chatting.
We'll just tweak that too. We'll tweak that too. Last body.
Nah, that ain't what I'm into, bro. I'm into getting money. That ain't what I'm into.
Okay, let's get him out of here.
Damn.
And yet, this episode has 10 million views. Coulda Been Love is similar this season, with a lot of the women having clear trauma and mental vulnerability issues, while production pushes them to fight. The fight between Ajirian and Charisma literally ended with blood all over Ajirian's leggings. But the thing is that these fights and low blows are kind of the point of the show. Since these shows parody reality shows that take themselves too seriously, Coulda Been can get away with the same levels of sexual harassment, violence, bullying, and exploitation, if not more, because it's all a joke, right? And look, I'm not trying to cancel Druski at all. I think his skits are hilarious and all in good fun, especially the one about fashion guys.
Super cool, chill, calm fit, you know, flared out, Balenci.
This is like the summer collection that they had.
All of his skits are on the nose, finding the absurdity in everyday life and people, and in skit fashion that is generally harmless. However, I don't know that Coulda Been is completely harmless because it's hard to tell if the contestants are in on the joke or not. In the first season, I went back and forth thinking these contestants must all just be undiscovered comedians that Druski is platforming, but now I'm not quite convinced. In fact, I think I was naive. Druski has almost gone full circle and become the type of reality show he is parodying, plucking randos from obscurity to humiliate them, but also make them famous. Like Top Model or Biggest Loser, the contestants are enamored with the idea of winning and all that will come with it. Bambi from season 1 of Coulda Been Love has continued to book brand deals like Buffalo Wild Wings, and she has stuck around in the storyline as Druski's baby mama. But all of the jokes seem to be at her expense, and we're all okay with that because we kind of feel like the contestants should know better by now. It kind of made me think of how Cardi B was humiliated constantly before getting a bag and fixing her teeth and demanding the industry take her seriously. But before we go just blaming Druski for everything, we need to understand where he sits in all of this. Druski's character on Coulda Been Records is a parody of someone that was never actually real in the first place. Record labels like Cash Money, Death Row, and Bad Boy were Black Street CEOs owned, but not really. That was just the front. Behind them were the typical white-owned parent corporations of Universal, Sony, Warner, etc. that handled the distribution deals, marketing, and corporate infrastructures. And in a lot of ways, they were able to be successful because they leaned into a very specific Black male stereotype that aligned with broader corporate white goals. Black creatives who tried to push those bounds or get too political were dropped from their labels or told that they weren't Black enough. In a lot of ways, Druski might be stuck in that same trap. He did not come up through traditional media. Rather, he blew up in 2017 off of skits on social media before stars like Lil Yachty and Drake co-signed him with cameos in their music videos. Coulda Been Records actually began on Instagram Live, where he would have people join his lives and critique them in the Coulda Been persona. You could only make so much money on social media and as a comedian, so when his YouTube series launched, it almost seemed too good to be true because, well, it kind of is. Even though the idea was Druski's and he plays the main role, he's not listed as a writer or director. Instead, that is David Janoff, who seems fresh enough in his career to be someone that Druski hired on his own, except Druski isn't listed as a producer or executive producer either. In fact, the two main producers are Druha Friedman and Noah Friedman. I couldn't find any information about Noah Friedman besides the Instagram post from Drew, as they appear to be brothers, but Drew is the co-founder of Duck Down Records, which appears to be an unproblematic indie label. But wait, he was and is also general manager for Cinematic Music Group. And according to Wikipedia, in 2017, the two brothers formed a label and distribution company called Rapids that partnered with Caroline and Universal Music Group. He then also secured a partnership with Atlantic Records. And look, maybe Drew and Noah and the rest of Druski's producers are great guys with the absolute best intentions. However, a parody show with a predominantly Black audience that leans so heavily into the absurdity of stereotypes while making its money off of brand deals like Taylorport, Popeyes, Prize Picks, and Dick Pills feels uncannily similar to the liquor stores, cash-checking places, and unhealthy food stores that open up in Black neighborhoods because they see an opportunity. I'm skeptical over who is truly calling the shots and what exactly is parody and what's reality or exploitation. The show is put out on YouTube too, which feels intentional in framing the show in the DIY style of Druski's skits. The producers aren't listed in the credits or description either, making it seem like Druski has complete creative control, though I don't think he does. As someone who works in marketing and PR, I can't help but feel like this is an intentional setup. Though Druski is playing a character, it's all still under his name. So when shit inevitably goes down, this will affect him and his brand the most. But blaming him would be missing half the point because there are certain compromises, sacrifices, and humiliation rituals that creators and artists seem to have to make in order to get funding for their art, especially for creators of color. Druski may be trapped just like Tyra, his originally good intentions being twisted just to further perpetuate the industry he was originally critiquing. The ads for these brands are so absurd that as the audience, we know what's going on. And shout out to him for refusing to take that stuff completely seriously. It's almost like he's winking to his audience saying, hey, buy this, but also you don't have to because I know this is bullshit and also I really need the money. However, it doesn't make it any less sad and kind of exploitative because he's still accepting that check while punching down on stereotypes of disenfranchised and disabled people.
Legs don't work. Get him out of here.
Especially when we see the literal blood and screams of his show contestants.
Just take me the home. Fry crash the out this. Fry crash the out this. I got you. I'll slice your ass. I'm really bad at
it. Owned by a black man.
Owned by a black man.
You way too comfortable
though. What y'all wanna do? Wanna be boys?
Rachel Sennott is a female comedian in a similar trap. She nods to the exploitation and humiliation ritual required from creators by being symbolically topless in the very first scene of her newest show, I Love LA. Did HBO demand that she show her tits in order to get the show? Was it an homage to all of the women who had to do a similar nude ritual in order to make a name for themselves? Or did she willingly take her top off because she simply has nice boobs / wanted to reclaim the trope? Either way, the show was not actually what she wanted to create, but rather what HBO wanted from her when she went to pitch shows to them.
My agent's like, it's a general meeting, just go in there, be you, girl. I'm like, okay. I go in, I have my 2 TV show ideas that I have previously pitched. So I go in there, I'm talking to them, and I hard pitch these 2 ideas. And they're both sort of like, oh, okay, that's great, but that's not really what we're looking for. Like, just tell us a little bit about yourself and like what you're up to. And I was like, okay, I'll take a therapy session. I just start talking about my life at that point. I'm like, I'm really depressed. I don't know if I should be with my boyfriend. Like, we've been together for 3 years, but it's like, it feels like we should break up, but it's too late. Should we get married? Like, I miss my friend. Like, she doesn't live here anymore. It feels weird, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Like giving a Lonnie in the writer's room?
Yeah. It's really, I just go too far. We end the call, and I'm like, merp. Okay. I don't know if that was weird. Whatever. I leave that Zoom being like another general meeting. Okay. I'm in the car like 2 hours later. My agent Amanda calls me and she goes, so you just sold the show. And I was like, what? And she was like, HBO wants to develop with you, which is not selling a show, but it's the first step of 100 steps to selling a show. And I was like, which idea? And she was like, just all the stuff you said. And I was like, but like, which of the pilots? And she goes, neither of the pilots, the stuff you guys talked about. And I was like, okay, well, I blacked out. And so then they do the deal, and it's called Untitled Rachel Sennott Friendship Show. I get it in my inbox. I'm like, what is this? And then they call the writer's strike. So then there's the writer's strike. So I can't talk to HBO. I can't work on the idea. The strike is long. And the whole time I'm like, what did I say in that meeting? What did I say in that meeting? And so I'm like spiraling about it. Anyways, the strike ends. I meet with Amy and Ellie, and like they were like, we basically talked through, and they were like, come to us with pitches on whatever. They had also seen Bottoms. They had read other scripts I had written, whatever. But all to say, pitches are weird. You never know like what's gonna come of something. Hollywood is always looking. They want to make stuff for young people, and then they hire like a 55-year-old who's making like a series that's like slay mama cunt. Hire them. They're right here. They'll make that sound normal.
Rachel went to NYU Tisch and made a name for herself on Twitter with comedic tweets like this one, talking about how she hopes the man she's going on a date with isn't a feminist because she has like whatever, not much money in her bank account. She also starred in a short film turned feature film called Shiva Baby, where she plays a directionless young bisexual Jewish woman, though she is not Jewish, which she addressed in I Love LA. Then she co-starred in Bodies, 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 which is the first time I saw her. Hilarious movie.
No.
First of all, a podcast takes a lot of work, okay? You have to organize the guests, you have to do a Google Calendar, and you build a following. It takes a long fucking time.
And The Idol, as well as co-writing and starring in Bottoms. She was also famously in Charli XCX's music video 360, but more on that in a bit when we get into Charli. So Rachel goes to pitch her show and they don't want that. They want something relatable. And so I Love LA was born, and although it was her brainchild, she didn't have complete creative control. HBO, of course, played their role.
I write and then I fix it. The way it works in TV is like you outline a million times. And I hate outlining and I hate structure, to be honest. My ideal scene is like 4 girls on a couch just like talking for 30 minutes. And like maybe one thing happens. Like that's like my dream scene. And I got notes back from HBO being like, so love, something has to happen. And I'm like, but what if it didn't? But I think like working through that process and knowing that we would get to the dialogue and that part would come, it was something where I just felt like very stuck and blocked, and then towards the end, and nervous too, because I'm like someone who just likes to get stuff done.
Some people hated the show, but I fucking loved it because it was painfully and cringily relatable. None of the characters are particularly good people. They're all creatives, influencers, and entrepreneurs, social climbing and conning their way to success in the most fucking absurd way. But they are also getting constantly fucked over in the most equally absurd way. And it is all unfortunately real as fuck. From Quinlan playing a dramatized version of herself with a streaming farm, to Alyssa's gatekeeping CEO practices and Notes app apology instructions, to Paulina's coke problem and viral girls girl rant, to Alani pulling up to the writer's room in all of her Nepo baby glory, to Rich Crackers branding Tallulah as a gay icon, to Charli trying to get Mimi Rush canceled for homophobia after she drops him as a stylist for trying to find dirt on Zendaya, but he only did that because Mimi was upset that Zendaya wouldn't play her mom, but switched up when Zendaya agreed. The show pulls back the curtain on influencer and celebrity culture, PR, brand deals, and the pettiness of most business practices. As someone who lives in Atlanta and has watched and experienced some very similar shit go down, I thought this show nailed a nuanced perspective of what it's like to be a young, driven creative in a cutthroat city. None of them are particularly good or honest people, but they arguably wouldn't cut it in LA if they were. We watch Maya prioritize her success over her relationships and values, even if it means shooting or stabbing herself in the foot, although it's also like kind of fucked Dylan. And we watch Tallulah sit back and focus on her relationship with Tessa while Maya kind of does all the work. We watch Charli yearn for something deeper, yet always put his image first. And we watch Alani just kind of obliviously float around because she's too wealthy to have problems. But again, chastising any of these characters for doing the wrong thing or being bad people would miss the point. Plus, we're given enough context to understand why they made the choices they did, even if we don't agree with them. In this way, the show brilliantly shows us how the reality sausage is made and all of its absurdity. Because of that, like Druski's Coulda Been, I almost see this as Rachel's warning to us not to be too naive. We put influencers like Tallulah on a pedestal, but we don't see the teams behind them, or in fictional Quinlan's case, streaming farms. We see the glamorous posts and Balenciaga bags, but it's all smoke and mirrors. A lot of them are completely fucking broke. It's easy for us to idolize celebrities and influencers and want to hold them accountable because from where we sit, they look like they have so much power, so much influence, and compared to a lot of us, they do. Yet we have to remember that influencing is literally their job. While it is easier for them to say yes and no to opportunities than say someone who is an employee, it's also not because they may not know when their next check will come from. The sad truth is that most influencers, comedians, creatives, and celebrities today are just trying to make it or stay afloat. Just like us, and more money, more problems. I appreciate how Rachel gave us a more nuanced perspective on the influencer lifestyle. I'm sure HBO wanted something that was more scandalous and that exposed the superficiality of these young creators, but I think Rachel was also able to help them maintain their dignity and show the skeevy industry that exploits them.
It's like this perspective on Gen Z, like, they're so stupid, they're on their phones, and they're so vain, and they're lazy, and I'm like, we've been through it, okay? We're seeing graphic images on the iPhone, on the TikTok. They gave us the vape pen when we were 12. We're on uppers and downers. It's hard. I do think that what I tried to do with the show was approach these characters, obviously with a sense of humor, but also like empathy and love in my heart.
With what she was able to get away with showing, we can only expect the truth to be much worse. Especially for megastars that have entire summers in their name like Charli XCX. How much is she cornered into saying yes to something she doesn't want to do?
'Cause I don't know if I belong here anymore.
Well, in a similar style to Rachel, she tells us herself in her new mockumentary, The Moment. I don't think Charli needs to be introduced, but in case you don't know, she's the artist behind Brat. Well, one of them, because if you know anything about Charli, then you know that she is big on collaborating. A.G. Cook is her mastermind producer, and Imogen Strauss was the creative director behind the album Rollout. Associated with Brat, we also have Rachel Sennott, Gabrielle, Julia Fox, Chloe Cherry, Lorde, Addison Rae, Troye Sivan, and so many more because when she became mainstream, she brought the underground, or at least those occupying the purgatory between underground and mainstream, with her.
I'm famous but not quite, but I'm perfect for the background, 1 foot in a normal life.
Which is one of the many really fucking cool things about Charli. It is undeniable that she is an incredible artist, and if there is anything we've learned about incredible artists based off of history, it's that they are enjoyed by the masses for the most digestible version of their persona that has been fed to us from marketing machines, but wildly simplified and misunderstood. This is the concept that The Moment explores, along with Charli's fear or really dread for her big moment to be over, while simultaneously dreading the entire moment altogether because there are too many cooks in the kitchen bastardizing the Brat brand, or rather ethos, since it was never intended to be a brand as much as it was a piece of very personal and vulnerable art. But of course, money needs to be made, and so the film employs a big bank to use the Brat name and branding in order to promote a Brat credit card to Charli's queer audience in the most absurd but familiar capitalistic fashion. Simultaneously, Charli is rehearsing and planning her tour, which would be stressful enough without her label throwing a pushy tour documentary director into the mix. But again, the label wants to make more money and capitalize off of the moment / push it to its absolute limit. The tour documentary director Johan is your typical Hollywood sleazebag, looking to profit off of an artist's success while watering them down to the masses to make a cheesy cookie cutter tour documentary. But this is who Charli's label hired in spite of her disagreement. We watch Charli fight off a breakdown while Johan harasses Charli's creative director Celeste with misogynistic comments, until Charli ultimately decides to get away to Ibiza, which she is only really able to do because she has a free room from a brand deal. While there, she has a humiliating session with a celebrity healer who isn't wrong that Charli's mental, physical, and spiritual health is deteriorating, but is clearly in the business for profit, which Charli cannot actually afford as we see her Brat credit card get declined. While there, Charli runs into Kylie Jenner, who is the living embodiment of all the things Charli isn't or isn't yet. Charli's spoken openly in interviews about the struggles of being famous but not quite, and being envious of mainstream successes. I mean, practically the entire album is about that because she was always close, but just out of reach. Kylie is also a mother, something Charli sang about yearning for, but also fearing in her song, I Think About It All the Time.
She's a radiant mother and he's a beautiful father. And now they both know these things that I don't.
Kylie encourages Charli to just go harder, to which Charli takes completely to heart and manically calls her team and Johan and relinquishes all creative control to him. Charli's values are constantly at odds. This results in Celeste being let go, while Johan entirely redesigns the show, fixating on the most surface level parts of Brat, like her cigarette addiction, by employing a giant lighter and floating cigarette and suspending her from the ceiling in a Taylor Swift-esque glittery green dress complete with green eyeshadow. Then Charli's fans crashed the bank because, of course, they only created an account to get the free tickets, and a lot of them used fake information because duh, which caused the bank to go bankrupt. Some of her fans are arrested and some riot. Charli then disappears to rest while her label essentially fantasizes about the money that could be made from her death. However, contrary to their suspicions, she doesn't kill herself and instead goes through with the absurd tour and delivers a typical kitschy tour documentary that is praised by all of the big names like Amazon and Rolling Stone, saying, "Forget everything you know about Charli XCX, like that's a good thing," while the song Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve plays. Charli then calls Celeste in the end and apologizes, explaining that she felt she needed to kill Brat in order to move on. The end is intentionally disappointing because it is an all too familiar sort of uncanny reality that we accept, if not celebrate. There is so much beautiful symbolism in this movie that is absolutely far from subtle, and in fact, it's absurd. The bird trapped in the stage, the mirror that falls and shatters, the giant Brat credit cards. At one point, the camera even pans to a photograph of Princess Diana as the label execs talk about Charli's estate's responsibility in paying back the lost bank funds. And while Johan literally fantasizes about a post-death tour documentary and how much money he will make from it. They employ these symbolic events in an absurd fashion to show the obviousness of what's at stake, but how almost intentionally oblivious everyone is. The movie is also shot in a kind of dark, regular lighting that feels very unflattering compared to the very bright ring light vibes of every fucking movie nowadays. And that is so refreshing and feels so much more real. I thought the movie was honestly great, but a lot of people hated it. The New Yorker critics absolutely hated it, releasing a podcast episode literally called Charli XCX Misses the Moment. And they had a lot of critiques that I'm going to go through one by one. Well, the top ones. For the first one, they said the stakes feel non-existent, and I would completely disagree. The stakes are staying true to Brat, selling out, not enjoying the success, fading into the background, exploiting her fans. Like, it's all very intense, and by the time we situate Charli in the narrative of the movie, she is too burnt out to think straight. All of the stakes are too high that she's literally drowning in them. So she either disassociates or acts manically. Similarly, they say it's neither extreme enough nor committed, meaning they wanted a more intense Black Swan level breakdown or slapstick humor, which tells me that they just don't get the style, which is very similar to I Love LA, right? Like, in fact, the scene with Rachel, who plays herself, feels very I Love LA as the two do coke and passive aggressively discuss how Rachel's team held up the release of the video with so many retouch requests. It has neither the drama intensity of Black Swan nor the obviousness of slapstick because the absurdity is shown in the everyday interactions. It's supposed to be more realism. As Charli said in a recent interview, everything I do is meta. Probably one of the biggest critiques is that it dodges the real controversy, which was Kamala Harris's campaign, which just about sent me off the roof because I was like, Guys, first of all, the mockumentary begins with a Brat social media montage that includes a clip of Kamala. So that sets the context for the rest of the film. I clearly understood that she could not come out and directly talk about the campaign, but that the movie was commenting on things like the campaign that completely took over the Brat aesthetic and ultimately redefined it. To set the record straight, Charli merely tweeted Kamala is Brat. Not an endorsement, not a collaboration, just a tweet. And based on the bank post that triggers a flurry of chaotic events that went opposite to planned, resulting in the bank going bankrupt, I think we can see her tweet similarly. Was she naive to think it wouldn't become a major news story as Kamala's team jumped on the marketing opportunity at the very least during the height of her success? Yes.
Kamala Harris refers to her as a, quote, brat.
I think Charli XCX did the Harris campaign a tremendous favor.
At 5:29 p.m., staff alerted me that the British singer-songwriter Charli XCX had posted, "Kamala is Brat." Brat was the title of her latest album and identified me with her brand: edgy, imperfect, confident, embracing. From then on, our rebranded Kamala HQ social media site was awash in her signature color, lime green, and posts supporting us used that color.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Feelings is in the context. You think you all in which you live and what came before you.
But we also don't know who was in her ear or what money was involved. I know legally endorsements must disclose payment, but this is America. Also, she is literally not even American and cannot vote in America, which she has stated. Politically, is she more aligned with Kamala than Trump? Of course. But why would we ever be seeking political advice from Charli anyway? To me, this is honestly the halo effect where we give celebrities too much sway in our decisions while we sit back and choose to be lazy about the work actually required to win an election. Kamala's team chose to hop on the Brat bandwagon because it was successful and also easy. Part of the entire Brat marketing strategy was to open up the brand assets to be used by anyone for anything. This directly opposes very common strict copyright laws that labels and brands employ, and it democratizes a piece of art. Charli has always been inspired by Andy Warhol in his commentary on art as a product, and that was intentional in the branding.
I was someone who at art school was like, I love Andy Warhol. I was always really fascinated with like that world of like the factory and the characters within it and like that kind of time in New York and the way that like product was being created at the same time as art and commerce, as we're like very obsessed with talking about.
But of course, also dangerous as we saw it play out. However, it isn't Charli's fault. I really don't fucking think so. Kamala could have taken the campaign more seriously and focused on true policy, but instead she adopted Gen Z humor with the absurd, which does not work when you are running for the most powerful position in the nation. And look, I liked some of the Brat Kamala stuff because it humanized her in a way that the left has not had much success in, but it went too far, and that's partly the media's fault for being lazy as well. The last critique the New Yorker says that I'm going to talk about is that this is a straw man satire because Charli participates in similar branding moves in real life, like ads and corporate partnerships, and so she ends up contradicting herself. I almost agreed with this one and still kind of have to. So let's break it down. Okay, first of all, in the movie, Charli does sell out by doing the corny tour documentary, but in reality, we know she didn't. So we can already read this as a sort of commentary on the fact that she didn't sell out all the way, but also still had to a little bit. I would go as far as to say she probably only has about 50% control in the decisions she makes because there are too many people involved. Plus, she's at the mercy of her label. This entire straw man argument was also underlined by her recent Poppy ad with Rachel Sennott, which I honestly felt the same exact fucking way before seeing the movie.
Vibes? Vibes. Wait, Charli, what are we doing here?
Oh, you haven't been to one of these before?
No, one of these? What is this?
Well, we've kind of been summoned.
Wow.
Sometimes when someone opens a can of Poppy, it can rip through the fabric of reality.
No.
Try not to think too much about it, babes. It's like kind of a vibes thing.
Vibes?
Actually, I'm kind of surprised that this is your first time.
Well, you know, I've been like really busy. I've been abroad a bunch, so it probably knows that. That's probably why I haven't been summoned.
Totally.
Except this is literally their job and how they make their money.
I've actually done a lot of brand deals.
That's the thing.
I've done a lot, and sometimes they come up
They like resurface. Like there's like 2 have resurfaced recently. I did this ad for like Doritos and Stranger Things. And it
What
was
a combo.
It was basically like
They always do that.
it
They
was
do
like-
the weirdest combination.
Right. It was like
Yeah.
this collab, and it was like before this new series of Stranger Things was coming out, and I was trapped in the upside down with
Eating a
soft
Dorito.
cell with Doritos. And it was like this video where me and like soft cell were like trapped in the upside down, like singing a cover of like one of their songs. And it's just random. And there's this video of this selfie video of me being like, hey, I'm Charli XCX and I'm trapped in the upside down with Doritos. Like, it was just like, what? You know?
No, and they're like, look at this creative and let me know if you like, are okay with this. It's like, yeah.
And I did this like advert for Hello Kitty Japan.
Yeah.
No. Hello Kitty Japan, but it's like the opening of like the theme park. It's like the Hello Kitty theme park in Japan is opening, and it's me like talking to
They're like,
camera.
we know the face for this. It's just
It's like
XCX.
so fucking random, but the dialogue for the ad is crazy. It's like this selfie video with like all this like pink like Hello Kitty stuff behind me, and it goes, "Do you like Hello Kitty? Do you like me? Well, then you're gonna love Hello Kitty Japan." And it's like,
no, in your British accent.
yeah, and it's crazy. And I'm like talking to like a 5-year-old, and I'll be like, and you'll see me there, and you'll see Hello Kitty too. And then I'm like this at the end. It's like so crazy.
And you have to give. You can't be like, you can't half-ass it. You can't be like, this is Hello Kitty. I don't know why I'm here, but they chose me for a reason. You're like, I love Hello Kitty.
Yeah,
and if you do too.
It's so random. It's so fucking random. I have to find it for you. It's
No,
crazy.
please.
But that was one of my. I mean, it wasn't even like the worst. It was just like, what am I doing?
Right.
You know.
Yes, this is my job.
Yeah.
This is how I make money.
Yeah.
But like, also, it's easy money. How are we supposed to say no?
Everyone knows Super Bowl ads are big money, and they probably needed that check. Adam Zamiri shot and directed the ad. He's the same person who did the Moment film and the 360 video. And he captioned this saying, hey, so it only has to make sense to me for me to do it, pulling from the viral Button Girl comment. And also said, well, the truth is that there's this big thing called the Super Bowl, and we had to do an ad for it.
You have like a humor that I have, that it's hard to find like a creative collaborator who's like willing to kind of like risk being silly and like kind of surreal and a bit ridiculous, but also think that actually is kind of high art as well. You're like interested in like playing with like stupidness,
Cool.
but in a way that's also actually really beautiful. And I think that actually like that kind of a thing, those kind of images has become like a pretty big part of our dialogue as collaborators.
Yeah, all of it's dumb as hell.
It's dumb, but there is also
You're on top of a man on a gurney.
Yeah.
It's a combination of taking it seriously and unseriously.
Yeah, there's just this humor, I think, to
Yeah.
both of us. But also we're also very like obsessed with the internet and with culture,
Yeah.
and which is inherently like stupid, dumb, and funny, but also
Yeah.
very, very profound and like feeding so much of life in a way.
This combination of kind of lowbrow stuff and highbrow stuff, and it being stupid but also being extremely sincere, and it being all these things at once, and like not filtering too much, just allowing all of it to kind of come in, compute, and then spit something out. I like when a song knows it's a song,
Yeah.
or like when a film knows it's a film. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and actually, kind of why I like when a photo knows it's a photo.
Right.
He's completely transparent because he knows the entire thing is absurd. And from the one interview I watched with him, I really, really like him. He actually turned down being on the Forbes 30 under 30 list because he didn't want to be labeled as an entrepreneur. But they all need to eat. And in Charli's album, she talks about her love-hate relationship to the party lifestyle and her fears and desires around growing up and settling down with George to have a baby.
Think about it all the time, that I might run out of time. But I finally met my baby, and the baby might be mine. Cause maybe one day I might, if I don't run out of time. Would it make me miss all my freedom? Think about it all the time.
The setting of the Brat album is the club, and that was supposed to be the vibe for the tour. Except while the club can sometimes be a super fun, exciting space akin to an amusement park, it can also be really fucking depressing if you're there aimlessly and unhappy all the time, or because you have to be. In this way, she framed the club as a sort of liminal space, the threshold between two sides, a sort of purgatory that got lost in the storm of popularity. The elevator, a threshold between the top floor and bottom, was used for the moment promo. Charli even brought up her fondness for liminal spaces in a recent interview with Mina Lay on Substack. I also just want to say how dope it is for an artist of her size to be collabing with creators like Mina Lay. Her PR tour was clearly very intentional in her mission to bring people up with her because she knows that her name will bring views. However, she's not always fully present for these interviews, being hungover or having to cut it short to get to another gig, making the interview super surface level. But yeah, this was another commentary she seemed to be making in the mockumentary. She's doing her fucking best, but her mental, physical, and spiritual health can only take so much. In other recent interviews, Charli has even said she didn't want to make music anymore after Brat because it kind of ruined it. Similar to Ethel Cain after Preacher's Daughter. Quote, I've always been open in interviews about my art. People just haven't listened, or I've been taken out of context. Writing publicly lets me create the context. I didn't know if I'd make music again. Everything I did would be compared to Brat. Look, you might think I'm being dramatic, but I talk to my husband about this all the time. I want to feel life on overload, at full speed. If I couldn't create, I would die. Someone might say she's over the top, but the past 5 years I've been frustrated with my music rollout. I hate going on tour. It's monotonous. I like to be in the throes of creation constantly. This is honestly what keeps me alive. I wouldn't be surprised if Charli's trying to stack her bread so she can chill, focus on her art, and have a baby like Rihanna and Kylie did. She's already been transitioning more into film. But if she is transparent with us about all of these things, or at least as transparent as she can be, by pointing out the absurdity in it all, the rat race of it all, the damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situations, while nodding to the powers that be and the stakes, lest us not forget the Princess Diana photo, does that make it okay? The New Yorker critics and many others say no. They believe it's the cheap way out. And in some ways, I do believe she may be being selfish or at least naive. Or maybe she's trying to take a similar path to artists like Justin Bieber, who had to do his time, then sold the rights to his entire music catalog and struggled to get out of his deal with Scooter Braun. The release of Swag was his first time having full creative control back, which he paid homage to in his Grammys performance in his boxers. Another seemingly absurd performance that is actually entrenched in deep, meaningful vulnerability. Justin also symbolically invited Druski to play his therapist on a track for Swag, which is super meta and also kind of gives me hope that Druski hasn't been completely lost in it. He just needs the right people on his team, looking out for him and offering him more opportunities, which he seems to have been finding more recently with other creators like Kevin Hart and Kai Cenat. We don't know the behind-the-scenes convos that Druski has with his Coulda Been artists, but hopefully he takes them out of the parody and helps them learn from his mistakes. We know that Charli certainly takes underground and smaller creators under her wing and gives them opportunities when she can. Rachel is the perfect example.
So I've been like a Charli stan forever. I was really on Twitter in like 2018, 2019, and I have so many tweets that are like, Charli XCX, like, please contact me. Like, I'm not kidding. They were like kind of a little scared. They were like, Charli XCX, I need to talk to you about your song. It changed my life. Like, honestly, she should have like been like, I think it was like we first met online because she had seen Shiva Baby and thought the movie was cool and then saw that I was like tweeting at her like a crazy person and invited me to go on her podcast. So I first met her like on Zoom during COVID on her podcast. Then she was doing the score for Bodies and she did the score for Bottoms, which was so amazing. Like, she's busy, obviously. And we were like, we have $4. Will you do this? And she was like, I'm totally down, babe. Like, I was like, great. She's always been someone who is like down for her friends, down for like the art of something, you know what I mean?
Charli signed at 15 and had a couple of hits go mainstream before Brat, so she's had a taste of the industry. But Druski and Rachel are relatively new. They're bound to make mistakes, and being comedians, it's easy to get lost in the fun absurdity of the joke and forget the very real stakes. They are bound to fuck up a little bit, but they are also trapped in a system that demands they do their time in order to be successful. This is where I want to bring us to talk about our role in all of this. Pointing out the absurdity in everything is funny to a point. When Donald Trump was running for office and then elected, we cried, we protested, and we found ways to laugh as a coping mechanism. Every mainstream comedy show made him a running joke because it was all fucking absurd. But then he won again. At the Grammys, Trevor Noah recently called out Nicki Minaj for endorsing Donald Trump as the butt of a joke.
Every single person here, John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it.
But it's not
baby.
really funny. It's pretty fucking sad. Between Nicki's recent anti-trans comments and the endorsement of the right while the violence increases, Nicki is completely selling out, betraying the queer fans who have supported her since day one, and even herself based on past comments. But also, people change and people are manipulated. We saw what the industry did to Britney, Michael Jackson, Kanye, Tyra, Dave Chappelle in the last episode, and so many others. Some of it is personal responsibility, yes, but that's also another American facade. Because how responsible can you be when someone much more powerful than you is pulling the strings? In the reality TV show that is America, Nicki is just a cast member. We don't see the producers doping her up, yelling stage cues behind the scenes, or making threats. It is clear that the current media landscape does not understand Druski, Charli XCX, or Rachel Sennott. And part of that is because they are taking big risks and redefining the artist's journey. But it's also because journalists are biased and lazy, resorting to tropes, boxes, and labeling, or inventing drama that does not exist. In Druski's recent Billboard article, for example, the writer suggests Druski's massive audience of 30 million followers explains, quote, how he pulled off a whiteface skit in 2025 without igniting a digital race war, end quote. Which is laughable considering White Chicks is a cult classic and Chuck Taylor is a regular character in The Chappelle Show. Two very well-known examples of comedians employing whiteface well before 2025. Plus, we don't have any questions about the contestants literally brawling on the show, maybe because those are people of color, one of which is queer. But hey, Kyle Dennis is merely a staff writer with probably a team of editors pushing the angle. After all, the article was published on Billboard, which is owned by PMC, which also owns Rolling Stone, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and more. And most certainly has relationships with labels and politicians for PR placements. So we can ask, when will we take it all seriously? But even when we do, what the fuck can we really do? For one, educate yourself. Politics, entertainment, and the traditional media landscape have trapped us in an absurd reality TV-esque liminal space. We are given just enough information to feel like we've progressed from the past, but never enough to spark the right action because they don't want us to act. If we start pointing fingers at the creators they have trapped who are trying to warn us instead of the right people and systems, well then we are only falling for the trap because to the monopoly man behind the scenes, creators are a dime a dozen and easily disposable. The uncanny valley between complete ignorance and actual truth is uncomfortable and frustrating. That space builds pent-up confusion and rage to the point where we just want to escape, jump to a clear binary, right or wrong, left or right. But the truth is much more complex. It requires patience, attention to detail, pulling the string, wading through the smoke and mirrors, being able to bounce back when you fall through a trap door, and most importantly, community. Druski, Rachel, and Charli are all begging us to be media literate, to see the absurdity in the realism in conjunction and not just laugh, but be uncomfortable. Consider what's at stake and build a team of like-minded people to come up together and hopefully do things differently. Laughter is incredible medicine, and parody and absurdity are wonderful tools in dismantling facades. But we need to take the next step. That doesn't mean you stop challenging creators or holding them accountable, because there's always still the danger of them going full circle and becoming the system, like Tyra. But we should be holding them accountable from a place of media literacy, and as corny as it is, love. The hate train only makes people feel less understood, and these are not artists with bad intentions. We can critique with empathy. Sometimes things are shocking because they truly do threaten the establishment. Sometimes it's just a replica of the establishment exposed. Sometimes media and life will make us laugh till we cry, then be filled with rage in a series of minutes. Emotions are weird, power is dangerous, the collective consciousness and what is seen as acceptable changes. But the more you are able to hold two emotions at one time, two truths at one time, a natural skepticism, but also open-mindedness, the better we can serve ourselves and each other to actually dismantle the capitalistic systems that treat humans like robots and art like a product. Artists want us to engage in their work because true art changes hearts and minds, even for the artists themselves, if not especially so. It is especially important to do this now as AI gets better and as human artists are replaced too. I know it's scary and sounds dystopian and very doomsday, but like, guys, like, propaganda just gets better with technology, and our general population is getting more emotions driven and less able to critically think. Because of a lack of education and algorithms, media and tech have completely taken over and brainwashed our emotions. This is a warning. So yeah, get comfortable in that uncanny valley, get to know it, recognize the psychological liminal space, and embrace its fluidity between binaries. Embrace a little bit of madness like we talked about in our last episode, but also maintain a strong grip on reality by constantly questioning it. Don't fall for the rage bait or be quick to point fingers. Never assume you know it all, but find inspiration in it that urges you to connect and create. I know that sounds like mental gymnastics, but a little gossip with a real human being that you trust will help with all of that. Just keep building those numbers and that community. All right, guys, that about does it for this episode. This was a new vibe for me, as you can probably tell. I was just feeling inspired and knocked out the outline in a weekend. It's not explicitly sex and relationships related, but it also is because the way we consume and digest media has everything to do with how we operate in our lives and our values and how we treat each other. Stop to chew the media you are consuming before you swallow. That is like my favorite phrase lately. Also, observe your surroundings, connect with your community, your neighbors. I know it's sometimes inconvenient, and trust me, I'm one of the guiltiest people of this as someone who works from home and generally prefers to be alone. But find ways to get outside and just walk around or be in your community. I've been walking to kickboxing every day and getting out of the house to work at coffee shops on the weekends, and I've honestly felt so much more inspired and grounded. This episode was actually inspired by, of course, the media and artists mentioned, but also a dystopian liminal space that I walk by every day. I'll include pictures, but this used to be a hospital, but is now being turned into apartment buildings and shopping areas, which in some ways I'm selfishly excited for because it will increase the value of my property. Capitalism, I know. There are also so many cookie cutter apartments in the area. So yeah, but I've been paying closer attention to the businesses that come and go, how the physical landscape changes, the people it impacts. Right now, of course, I'm still working full time. I'm doing this. I'm also taking a night class. So my time is limited, but I did sign up for the neighborhood newsletter and have intentions of getting more involved. We are ants in this fucking fucked ass system, and you could let that make you feel powerless to the point of doing nothing or beating yourself up for not doing enough. But guilt and resignation do nothing. You can find ways to do what you can, and if that means starting small, then start small. The more you can find a balance between taking your time and acting, the better, and realize that things do not have to be perfect. I think we all need to be a little bit more patient with everybody, and also like understanding, like looking at things from like a fucking 50,000 foot view to see the full picture helps everyone, I think, like develop empathy, learn, and figure out the best way forward, because shit is fucked up right now, guys. And so often the hate train is after the person who, like, you know, was very much cornered in this and did not have too many options. They were being exploited, etc., etc. But all right, I have talked enough. I will catch you in the next one where I talk about hypersexuality, I think, unless I come up with another random topic before then. Make sure you guys head over to Substack to see the essay version of this episode. Also, make sure you are following on TikTok and Instagram at So What So Dry, the O's are zeros. If you prefer to listen audio over video, check me out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Opposite way, if you prefer to watch video with a bunch of graphics and visual elements that kind of add to this presentation of this episode, video essay, podcast. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. It's kind of a cross between all of them. Check me out on YouTube. I think that's kind of like the preferred method of engaging with this content so you can really see what I'm talking about. And yeah, I love you guys so fucking much. Thank you for sticking with me while I have a billion identity crises and try to figure out what the fuck I am doing. I love you so fucking much. I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Okay, so fun. I know.
Best night ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so where are we?
You know, they never really like tell me much past 5. Like, that's all they give me.
Right. Sort of inconvenient. We'll get a car.
I love cars.
Yeah, or a plane. I don't know. Because I'm just like wondering what state we're in, even.
This is the reality of recording. Full disclosure, I'm on my period. I cried like all day yesterday. I have so much work to do for my class and my corporate job. I worked out like maybe once this week. I have not eaten yet. My room is a mess. Everything is shit, and I feel like I read that script way too fucking fast. Did you guys like the purse? Was that a good touch? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Can you even hear me? I don't think they... All right. Anyway.